Hello there, everyone. I'm Gaylen Morse, and welcome to Journey to Recovery. We appreciate having you along today. The title of this podcast is Managing Anger, Part 1. On today's program, we'll talk with Dr. Hal Baumchen about all the things that make people angry. We'll discuss the differences between anger and aggression and provide some suggestions for overcoming aggressive tendencies and managing angry emotions. Thanks for joining us today. Our podcast focuses on the co-occurring disorders of mental health and substance abuse. We present a wide range of thought-provoking, hopeful, and positive topics from a clinical yet practical perspective. And we provide a solid, truly integrated co-occurring disorder resource you can use in your treatment program or in your own recovery. Our host is Dr. Hal Baumchen, a licensed clinical psychologist and licensed alcohol and drug counselor. He's the executive director of Northland Counseling Services and the clinical director of North Star Regional Co-occurring Disorder Treatment Programs. He's an author, speaker, and clinician with over 30 years of counseling experience. I'm here today with Tim Bode, operations director at Northland Counseling Services, and with Dr. Hal Baumchen, our host at Journey to Recovery. How are you guys today?
Doing well, Gaylen. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I'm doing well. We got a little delay here this morning because we were talking football. We're all excited about it. So here we are finally getting underway. We're going to talk through some anger issues. And fortunately, we won an important football game, so we're not as frustrated as maybe we would have been.
Right. And we're going to talk about especially how anger interacts with substance use disorders.
Right. And before we get into that, I just want to remind our listeners that we try to address co-occurring disorder issues on this podcast. So we're always talking about mental health issues and how that affects substance abuse behaviors and how substance abuse disorders affects your mental health. So even when we start talking about anger and being aggressive, we're trying to see how that might affect somebody with a substance use disorder.
Dr. Hal, what kind of emotional issues are common with treating substance use and mental health disorders?
Right, you name it, and it's going to come up. So depression and anxiety are probably number one and number two, but anger comes up as well. And then bipolar illness, low self-esteem, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other behavioral disorders such as gambling or shoplifting or something might come up as part of that substance use disorder and co-occurring disorder thing.
You know, you mentioned anger. Would that be one of the major issues addressed in treatment?
Absolutely, Gaylen. It comes up, along with depression, and I think sometimes depressed folks do get angry and irritated. It's one of the symptoms on the checklist for depression that when we go, do you have sad mood, do you get irritable, and I think it does come up with depression. So anger is coming up in substance abuse disorders, and people often use substances in order to calm down. Calm down when you're anxious, but calm down when you're frustrated as well. So the answer is you bet.
Well, doesn't everyone get angry?
What do you think, Gaylen?
Well, I don't really get angry. I guess I get frustrated, irritated, stressed out, upset, ticked off. Not really angry.
Yeah, that's a good way to talk about all the different ways that we don't talk about being angry. Like, I'm not angry. Don't really want to admit to that, but I'm going to talk about being ticked off or upset. And that's easier to talk about. People have problems managing anger, and they often have problems expressing anger directly and appropriately.
Mm-hmm. So how does anger interact with substance abuse?
Feelings of anger can be be a trigger for a relapse because using alcohol and drugs to manage your frustration or anger is common. And so rather than letting myself feel those feelings, gravitate toward alcohol or substance to try to calm myself down. And that's very common. So people don't want to feel that anger, don't want to express it, don't want to get in trouble. And then when you do get high or drunk, Sometimes now judgment's impaired, so people end up saying and doing things that create conflict with relationships. So now we've got kind of a secondary anger problem after the substance use.
What's the difference between anger and aggression?
For me, it's a hugely important issue, Gaylen. I'm glad we're talking about it. I think sometimes people say, "You're angry, aren't you, Hal?" And I guess maybe I'm angry about that, but I'm not aggressive. Let me try to explain the difference. Anger is a naturally occurring emotion. Everybody gets angry. Everybody has that kind of emotion from time to time. And aggression is the action that comes out of that feeling or emotion of anger. So aggression is the action and anger is the emotion. So can you name an aggressive action? Just guess. There are a million of them.
Screaming at someone.
Right. Come on, faster. Yeah. Screaming, yelling, swearing. Anything else?
Well, name calling, belittling,
Right. Yeah. Shaming somebody, belittling them.
slamming doors.
Yeah. Doors and drawers.
Throwing things.
Yeah.
Giving someone the silent treatment.
Right. And using other gestures on the freeway can be a...
Oh, you mean telling them their IQ?
Is that what that is?
Right. Signaling that you're upset.
How about dominating the conversation?
Right. I've got people in my life, I think, that do that. We'll get into this a little bit, Gaylen, but I think it's common for angry people to try to control, and dominating the conversation might be one way to try to control things.
In some cases, it takes a physical form, hitting somebody or kicking, biting, those kinds of things.
Right. Even threatening to do that can be aggressive. You didn't actually hit, bite, or kick. You just kind of postured in such a way that people were afraid you were going to do that, and that's an aggressive action. Again, what we're trying to talk about is what is anger, and then what's aggression. So we're trying to make a distinction here. Again, to repeat, anger is that naturally occurring emotion. Aggression is the action that comes out of anger.
So that's a pretty good list.
Got any more on there? Demanding and commanding, I'm seeing, so that you do it my way, that kind of that bullying behavior, demanding, commanding, forcing.
Manipulating.
Right.
Blackmailing.
Right. Manipulating is kind of a favorite of mine to talk about. It gets close to passive-aggressive behavior. So you're trying to get somebody to do what you want, but you're not admitting to it, and you're not very direct about it. Have you seen the Greek wedding? What is it?
Yeah, the movie.
Yeah. Is it My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
Yes, I think
To
so.
that effect,
Yeah.
yes.
And I think there's some manipulation going on. Sorry to get off on something I don't know what I'm talking about, but that is common. But in that, there's some manipulation, trying to get the father to do something and have him think it was his bright idea. And so manipulation can be like that, but it's part of that passive-aggressive form of anger.
Mm-hmm. How about sarcasm?
Sarcasm, one of the favorite things to come up in passive-aggressive. So you're not going to stand up and yell at somebody. You're not going to hit them, but you can make them feel like dirt by using a sarcastic comment. So I think it's a very common way to express, to be aggressive and to express anger.
Now, do you have to do all of them or any number of them to be considered aggressive? How does that work?
Right. We got quite a list going.
Yeah, I think just some of them, not all of them, right? You don't have to check off every one.
Got it, need it.
aggressive.
No, you don't need that one. You're plenty angry, thanks. Yeah, you don't have to collect the whole set. But if you do a couple of them, I think it can help you dial in. How do I get angry? How do I get aggressive? Mm-hmm. Everybody gets angry, and you can be angry. What do you think about that? Can you be angry without being aggressive?
I think you can certainly have that feeling or emotion without acting out on it.
Right. And that's the key here, that be careful how you express it. So if you went to somebody and said, hey, I've over time gotten kind of angry and I wanted to talk to you about that, maybe that's kind of a kind way, compassionate way, an understanding way, maybe trying to get at why they're doing what they're doing. Talk it through a little bit. You're being direct, trying to own your feelings, but you're not punching them. So
Right.
again, an appropriate way to express anger without being aggressive. So I'm all for that. You can be angry without being aggressive. The Bible says it this way: be angry and don't sin. Don't let the sun go down while you're still angry. I think it's getting pretty close to saying, of course you're angry, but be careful how do you express that. So, be careful with your aggression level.
So is anger linked to selfishness?
One of my favorite things to talk about. Hey, Doc, can you help me? I'm yelling at my wife. I'm angry in traffic. I'm upset at work. I'm abusive to the cat. Can you help me? And I'm like, well, yeah, I can help you with your anger, but we got to talk through selfishness. Why do we need to do that? But in my world, Tim, those are linked. And most of my anger, unfortunately, has to do with being selfish. I'm not getting what I want, the way I want it, when I want it. Now I'm ticked. And in order to deal with anger, consider reducing your own sense of selfishness. Take a look at your level of entitlement. I want what I want. Selfishness often has those feelings of frustration because someone doesn't consider how important you are, or they're not giving you what you want, the way you want it. You might feel inconvenienced. You might perceive others, this is me, others as slow or careless or thoughtless, stupid. We talked before we turned the mics on, like, man, I don't have an anger problem. You have a stupidity problem. And you get that look that we're going to be good here. And I think that's pretty common. Hey, let me talk about when I get angry. Like I mentioned, I'm not getting what I want, the way I want it. And what's happening there is if we have a goal and that goal is blocked or we perceive it to be blocked, then that often triggers our frustration or anger. So again, I'm not getting what I want. That strong emotion such as anger, like we're talking about, can indicate that you have a wrong goal. Now imagine that my goal is to have a peaceful meal with my wife and my 2 adult daughters and their husbands tonight at 7 o'clock. So that's my goal. Now, once I make that my goal, now my goal could be thwarted or blocked by somebody. Who do you think could block that goal?
One of your children could be something else comes up, or they're late getting there, and
Right. They're
Can't
having
eat
a
on
baby or something.
Or-
And
yeah,
or your children's children could be
Yes.
getting in the way of
Right.
their husbands.
right. So my wife could block the goal. My kids could block the goal. Their husbands, their children could block the goal. Hillary Clinton, I'm not sure how, could block my goal. Also, other circumstances might come in as well.
right. Power could go out in your house.
Sure.
You get stuck in traffic, or somebody gets stuck in traffic.
We're here in Minnesota. It's snowing a little bit, and so you could be blocked by traffic or weather. The point being, when we have something that's our goal, that's contingent or dependent on other people, other situations or circumstances, then those situations or people can block my goal. When my goal is blocked, now I feel frustrated, upset, irritated, and angry. You're blocking my goal. I'm not getting what I want.
So how do you get away from that sense of selfishness or having blocked goals?
So the key is to get everybody in the universe to do what I want the way I want them to do it.
When I want.
Yeah. And I got to force them harder. I got to get a bigger stick. I got to yell at them more. No. So you'll have to change your goal. You have to change your goal from dinner at 7 to I'm trying to be kind, patient, and understanding, whether I get a dinner at 7 o'clock with them or without them, or 8, or it doesn't happen at all. But I'm watching my character rather than trying to control them. I'm trying to control me, not trying to control weather, traffic, and other people. So that's the whole deal here, is trying to make sure it's contingent. My goal is contingent or dependent on my character, my disposition, my attitude, my words, and my actions, not on somebody else's actions. Additionally, angry feelings and aggressive actions are often responses to goals that are perceived as blocked by somebody else. And so we're going to go over a couple of things that kind of frustrate you, or, you know, where you feel like your goal has been blocked in the past.
So one example is someone could lend you money, but they won't.
I could lend you money, but I won't do it. Then it can make you angry. Like, I know you have the money, Hal. Come on, what's the matter?
What about your boss making you come to work early or stay late?
Right. This sort of brings up, if you're willing to do something, it's not nearly as frustrating as if you're forced or made or commanded to do something. So now when you want to get home and your boss makes you stay late, it could make you angry.
What about someone questioning your honesty?
I like saying, I don't like being falsely accused. In fact, I don't even like being rightly accused. If you accuse somebody of being dishonest, it could frustrate them. It could block their goal. Hey, I wanted to be seen as likable or approved of, and now you're questioning me.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with how I react personally, but why is traffic slowing down?
Don't you guys have homes or jobs or someplace you got to be? You got to be parked on the freeway in front of me? Are you kidding me? So that kind of thing makes people angry, because my goal of driving from here to the store in 15 minutes is being blocked by this person.
And it doesn't have to be on the highway. It can be in the checkout line
Yes.
at the grocery store. Why is it taking that person so incredibly long?
Yeah. So I've got this story. I don't know if you've heard me tell this, but I bought a little plaque at Goodwill that said, "Wisdom brings patience." And it's a Bible verse that I like. And so I was so excited to find this plaque in Goodwill for $4.99, and it was the only item I bought. I brought it to the checkout counter, and there's a woman who has about 50 or 60 or 70 articles of clothing for $1.99, and she's got a coupon for 20% off for some of it, and she has $100 to spend. And she's sorting her 60 or 70 articles of clothing on the counter. Oh, this one looks really nice, but the pink one is, I've already got a pink one, but this blue one's nice. She's sorting at and I've got my little plaque, my one item, and the clerk keeps looking over at me apologetically and smiling and saying, "So sorry, I'm really sorry," under her breath. And the other customer keeps sorting her clothing, goes on and on and on. And I've got my little "Wisdom brings patience" plaque, and I show it to the clerk like, it's okay. I'm going to make myself stand in this line and be patient.
That's a great story.
Where do you get at work? Where do you get aggressive? Where do people get aggressive?
People get aggressive in lots of different places. Right?
I think we're finding the more we talk, the more places we're finding we can get aggressive. At work, in a bar or club, at a party.
So all of those things, like I'm being frustrated or I'm not getting what I want, I think that comes up, those blocked goals we were talking about.
At a sporting event.
Boy, if
the
your
way I was
team-
getting before they got that touchdown.
Sure. You get frustrated with the team or the coach or the other team or the ref or something.
Yeah.
Now, we're not condoning this. We're just saying it's common because people are sensing or perceiving that their goal is being blocked, and they're not angry with themselves so much. They're angry with other situations, circumstances, and other people, which I'm here to tell you are often outside of your ability to control. Try to control your own character. Don't try to control the referee or the other team or the person on the screen of your TV.
Yeah, I think other public events where there are lots of people, sporting events, concerts, maybe somebody's in your way or standing up and you want them to sit down. Or
Right. While I'm thinking of it, Tim, I want to use a hockey analogy because hockey is a rough sport. And so can you imagine two hockey players on the same team and one hockey player kind of bumps into, while they're skating, they're both going for the puck or something, and they bump into each other, and one hockey player gets offended. Can you believe that? That guy he skated into me. Did you see that? He bumped into me. And we'd all be like, dude, it's hockey. Keep your stick on the ice, keep skating. This is not a penalty situation. This is your own teammate bumping into you. That's what hockey is like. Now, I'm bringing it up because that's what life is like. You're going to get bumped. You go to a concert, you're going to get bumped. You stand in line, you're going to get bumped. And I mean that metaphorically, figuratively, but there's always things that are bumping us. Don't get so upset.
Some people get aggressive at home.
Yeah, at home. And nice little distinction here that's, we should take kind of seriously. If you only get aggressive with your domestic partner, we often are talking about domestic violence or domestic abuse. If you're angry everywhere, I think we have a broader anger or aggression problem. Get angry on the road, at home, in the bar, at the concert, at the store, in the checkout line, with all kinds of people, other teammates on your softball team. You're angry all the time at everybody. Okay, we got a different kind of a aggressive anger problem versus somebody who only gets angry with the domestic partner, only commanding, demanding, belittling, shaming, controlling that person. That's that domestic abuse. And it's worth talking about.
What does anger look like?
Well, let's talk about that for a second. How would you know that I'm getting angry just to look at somebody's physical appearance or the way they sit in a chair or something?
If you were a cartoon character,
there'd be a little bubble.
Or do you have steam coming out of your ears?
I
Right?
had a friend who actually had a vein in his neck or something that you could always tell when he was getting frustrated because that would just begin to get real red and stick out.
Yeah. He didn't have to tell you he was getting angry. You could see the steam coming out of his ears and the vein.
Yes.
Yeah. Or people get blotchy or something. But also, if the jaw comes out and the finger comes up and the tone of your voice sounds more angry or what is that word, Tim? Stilted? When like there's this staccato to your voice.
Yeah,
What
not,
is that?
No, not stilted.
Okay. You're the word guy.
Yeah, sorry.
God, I'm so frustrated with Tim. Just angry.
It'll come to me later when I'm
Yeah.
not trying to remember it.
Right. Thank you, though.
Yes.
So all of those things where your tone gets more angry and your face looks angry and you get more loud and demanding and commanding. And then the opposite, if you're deferring, then maybe your voice goes down, you get softer, you stammer a little bit, you're not screaming at anybody. Your posture gets closed off and inward, and you shrink down in your chair and look at the floor. Opposite to that is that aggressive guy looking right in your eyes and pointing his finger and shouting at you. So I think there are some ways to tell that you're getting angry or somebody's getting angry with you.
I hate to tell stories on myself, but I have a problem with my upper lip. I can tell instantly when I'm getting over the line frustrated, my upper lip will start to quiver.
Okay.
And it's like, ooh.
An uncontrollable twitch there.
There you go, a twitch.
Yeah.
Yep. And I've learned to control things because I became aware of that. I'm sure that's going to apply later on here that as you learn to identify, you can learn to deal with appropriately.
Right. So you're watching those signs and symptoms in yourself emerge. And so that would be a time to start calming down, relaxing, taking a time out, or changing the way you think. Hey, you're going to get bumped. It's hockey. That's changing the way you think. So you're not trying to change the situation. You're trying to change your mood, attitude, disposition, character, and change the way you think.
Mm-hmm. So we've talked about places that people get aggressive. What about people with whom you are aggressive or people with whom people get aggressive? Like your boss.
I get aggressive and angry with my boss. Hey, Hal, you're self-employed. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That guy never gives me what I want, I tell you. So maybe you find yourself angry with your boss or your spouse and children. We talked about that. So there are a lot of people that we get angry with. So I'm thinking here, as we're going through this and chatting about anger, that maybe we should come back and talk through some of these things next time on our podcast too. And I'm sure it's frustrating to our listener to have to stop talking about anger.
They'll have to deal with it.
Yeah, they'll have to deal with it. Right.
In the meantime, thanks everyone for listening to today's podcast. Today we were talking about managing anger and aggression, and we certainly hope it helps you on your journey. Also, we invite you to check out resources on the web at journeytorecovery.com, where you can download other materials that help you develop skills to identify emotional problems, reduce symptoms, and prevent relapse at journeytorecovery.com. And drop us an email. We'd love to hear from you. We've been visiting today with author, speaker, and clinical psychologist, Dr. Hal Baumchen. I'm Gaylen Morse. Thanks for listening to today's program. See you next time on Journey to Recovery. Remember, recovery is a journey. Enjoy the ride.